According to official figures, Chile has the highest rate of COVID-19 deaths per 100,000 inhabitants in South America. Protests against police brutality in the US city of Portland ended with police using tear gas, stun grenades and rubber bullets to disperse protesters. The Egyptian parliament has approved a military intervention into Libya. From the headquarters of Teleso English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. According to official figures, Chile is registering 45 COVID-19 deaths per 100,000 inhabitants. This figure places Chile as the worst-hit country in South America in terms of coronavirus fatalities, even above countries like Brazil and Peru, which have reported more cases and deaths. According to economists, the neoliberal model in place in Chile is the main cause of this situation. Experts point out that the government of Sebastián Piñera prioritizes subsidies for the private health system, thus neglecting the public system and leading to its collapse. And the Chilean government has presented a 5-stage plan for the gradual reopening of the country, one of the most affected by the coronavirus pandemic in South America.
This plan, which will be a step-by-step, cautiously, prudently, following the recommendation of science, the World Health Organization, the Advisory Council, will be applied gradually and flexibly, always listening to the communities, and always carefully seeing the reality of each commune and region. The step-by-step plan follows 5 stages. First, quarantine, that many communes are observing today. Second, transition. Third, preparation. Fourth, initial opening. And fifth, advanced opening.
For the first time in 5 months, Cuba has reported no new positive cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. By the end of Sunday, the COVID-19 figures in Cuba stood at 2,446 cases since the first was confirmed on March 12th. Director of Epidemiology at the Cuban Ministry of Public Health, Dr. Francisco Duran, also reported this Monday that Cuba has no COVID-19 patients in a serious condition and has not reported a COVID-19 death for the past 9 days. Mexico reported more than 5,300 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. The Secretariat of Health informed on Sunday in its daily report that the COVID-19 death toll had reached almost 40,000 after 296 new fatalities were reported in a 24-hour period. Mexico has over 87,000 active cases, while over 200,000 people are reported to have recovered from the virus. This Monday, some 14 states of the country were put under red alert, the highest alert level, while 18 others will remain in orange due to the different risk levels. Guyana's Public Health Ministry has reportedly advised the Civil Aviation Authority to postpone the reopening of the country's airports to international travellers until August 28th. Guyana's airports were originally scheduled to be reopened for international travel on July 1st, but owing to the recent spike in COVID-19 cases, that date was changed to August 1st. Authorities have now disclosed that the timeline could be altered once again. According to the manager of aviation security, Abraham Doris, a decision has not been made on the Public Health Ministry's recommendation. A total of 150 candidates will contest the August 10th general elections in Trinidad and Tobago. The Elections and Boundaries Commission made the announcement in a press release on Saturday and noted that the candidates represent 18 political parties. However, only the ruling People's National Movement is fielding candidates in all 41 seats, while the opposition United National Congress has 39 candidates standing in Trinidad. In the last general election in 2015, current Prime Minister Keith Rowley led the People's National Movement to a 23-18 victory over the then People's Partnership Administration of Kamla Persad-Bissessad.
Addresses and occupations of all the candidates will be listed on the EBC.
As part of the celebration of the 41st anniversary of the triumph of the Sandinista revolution in Nicaragua, President Daniel Ortega stated that during his mandate, more than 500 investments have been made in the health sector, reflecting the readiness of his government to face the coronavirus pandemic.
From 2007 to date, the following investments have been made in the health infrastructure. 19 hospitals have been built, which explains the ability to treat the population, 2 national hospitals, 1 provincial hospital, 16 general hospitals, 18 health centers, 452 health stations, 128 maternity homes.
And the Nicaraguan president also stressed that since the beginning of his administration, the number of health workers has doubled.
In 2006, the Ministry of Health had 22,083 workers, and in 2020, this has increased. Therefore, it demands more budget, more state spending, more budget allocation to the health sector. It has increased from 22,000 to 36,983 workers, and from 2,715 doctors that we had in 2006, today we have 6,182 doctors in the health system.
And we're taking a short break now, but we'll be right back, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. A night of protests against police brutality in the US city of Portland, Oregon, ended with police using tear gas, stun grenades and rubber bullets to disperse protesters. The mayor of Portland demanded the withdrawal of federal officers, accusing them of dangerously escalating the situation with abusive, unconstitutional tactics against protesters. The accusations followed another night of protests in the city that saw a police association building set aflame. The Oregon Attorney General and the American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit late on Friday night against the federal government, accusing it of overstepping its powers and injuring or threatening peaceful protesters. The Portland protests form part of the nationwide mobilizations against police brutality and systemic racism sparked by the murder of George Floyd. Russia registered the lowest daily COVID-19 death toll in 2 months on Monday. According to the operational headquarters for the fight against the coronavirus, 85 COVID-19 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the number of new cases fell to less than 6,000 for the first time since April. Russia has reported more than 777,000 cases, while the COVID-19 death toll stands at over 12,000. And the Russian Defense Ministry is predicting the high effectiveness of a COVID-19 vaccine developed by its scientists. Researchers at the National Research Center for Epidemiology and Microbiology carried out preclinical trials in animals, leading to the prediction that the neutralizing activity of the vaccine candidate will provoke a long-term immune response in the human body. The last group of participants in the human trials of the vaccine was discharged from a Moscow hospital this Monday. According to tests, they have developed antibodies against the coronavirus, while the components of the vaccine have proven to be safe. Scientists at Oxford University in the United Kingdom reported this Monday that their experimental coronavirus vaccine prompted a protective immune response in hundreds of people who got the shot. Researchers first began testing the vaccine in April on about 1,000 people, half of whom were injected with the experimental vaccine. In research published on Monday in the Lancet Medical Journal, scientists said that they found their experimental COVID-19 vaccine had produced a dual immune response in people aged 15 to 55, and the response lasted at least 2 months after they were immunized.
Found that in over 1,000 people, the safety profile looks rather good and reassuring. And importantly, we are seeing good immune responses in almost everybody. Now, what this vaccine does particularly well is trigger both arms of the immune system. So in addition to neutralizing antibodies, which other vaccines do, we also see a very strong T cell. Even 2 billion doses may not be enough. That's a huge achievement if we can do it. No vaccine has ever produced 500 million doses in a year. So we definitely want other vaccines to work. We want them to share the activity or the burden, if you like. I think the vaccine is the way out. And I think that we're going to need a lot of vaccine, because there was a hope that if we had a vaccine quickly, we could put out the pandemic and it wouldn't come back. I think it's going to be very difficult to control this pandemic without a vaccine.
On Monday, EU leaders gathered for another session of talks after 3 days and nights of long debates failed to reach a consensus on a €750 billion recovery package to drag Europe out of the recession sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The impression that European leaders really want an agreement, they show the clear will to find a solution, and we need a solution. The European citizens need a solution. The European Union needs a solution, needs an agreement to overcome this crisis and to prepare Europe for the future. I'm positive for today. We are not there yet, but things are moving in the right direction.
I entered this day with a great deal of determination, a willingness to act and move forward with colleagues and once again to carry this European ambition that we need. And I say this with great force. Not to be at the forefront of compromise and ambition today means taking the risk of coming back to harder times, and for some people who are concerned about this, that in the end, it costs us more. Last night, after long negotiations, we worked out a framework for a possible agreement. This is a step forward and gives hope that an agreement may be reached today, or at least that an agreement is possible.
Vietnam has now seen 95 days without any locally transmitted coronavirus cases. The 233 COVID-19 cases confirmed in Vietnam since April 16th were people who returned from abroad. The commission in charge of containing the pandemic announced that of the 383 people who have tested positive for COVID-19, 357 have fully recovered. Vietnam has not reported any COVID-19 deaths, which, along with the small number of cases, has earned the country the praise of the World Health Organization, experts and institutions across the world. Chinese scientists are ready to launch China's first Mars exploration mission after completing multiple rehearsals recently. According to the China National Space Administration, Tianwen-1, the country's first Mars probe, is scheduled to launch in late July or early August. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the team has been actively adjusting personnel allocation, coordinating the tests and mapping out schemes for different sites. The fourth Long March 5 rocket was transported to the launching area at the Wenchang spacecraft launch site on Friday.
We have carried out multiple coordinated maneuvers over flight and control, together with launching site system, the rocket system and the probe system, which have verified the validity of interfaces between different systems and the flight program, and also indicated that we are capable of conducting the first Mars probe of our country. We formatted an orbit kinetic model that has some orbit with the rover, as well as the corresponding measurement model. Then we established the corresponding control algorithm to ensure that the probe lands on the designated location of Mars at the designated time, and can automatically capture information to ensure it can conduct flight and control missions across Mars.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. South. Egypt's parliament voted on Monday to authorize the president to deploy troops to neighboring Libya if forces backed by Turkey move to retake the strategic coastal city of Sirte. Last week, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi hosted dozens of Libyan tribal leaders loyal to the forces of Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar in Cairo, where he repeated that Egypt will not stand idly by in the face of moves that pose a direct threat to its security. Libya's eastern-based parliament also urged el-Sisi to send troops. Khalifa Haftar's forces launched an offensive to take Tripoli from the UN-recognised government in April last year, but their campaign suffered a blow last month when the Tripoli allied forces pushed them back. According to experts, an Egyptian intervention could see Turkey and Egypt in a direct confrontation. The Syrian people went to the polls on Sunday to elect their representatives to the third legislature of the People's Assembly since the adoption of the new constitution in 2012. The Deputy Speaker of the Assembly, Najdat Ansur, reported that the elections were conducted without any incidents or legal violations, which constitutes a political victory for Syria. Ansur also denounced terrorist attacks in the lead-up to the polls. On Saturday, a bomb attack took place in a neighbourhood in the capital, and another targeted a polling station in the city of Busa al-Harir in the southern province of Dera. Syria held legislative elections on Sunday with more than 1,600 candidates competing for the 250 seats in parliament. Sudan has reported a drop in water levels in the Nile River in what experts say could be the result of Ethiopia filling the reservoir of its Grand Renaissance Dam. Engineer Anwan al-Sadat al-Hajj Mohammed, Director General of the Khartoum State Water Authority, told reporters on Sunday that water pumping platforms had experienced their lowest water levels, adding that this resulted in a reduction in the quantities of clean water produced. Last week, an Ethiopian official said authorities had started filling the reservoir of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. However, this was denied days later. Meanwhile, Egypt has said the dam will affect its annual share of the Nile's water, amounting to 55.5 billion cubic meters.
Demands from Egypt and Sudan. Sudan's information.
South Africa's COVID-19 death toll has surpassed 5,000, with the peak of the epidemic expected over the next few weeks. Workers are digging new graves in a Johannesburg cemetery in the African continent's hardest hit country. Authorities reported 85 new COVID-19 deaths in the last 24 hours. Figures released by the Health Ministry show that over 13,000 new cases were diagnosed, taking a total to more than 360,000. Authorities imposed a strict lockdown in late March, but the measures have been progressively eased to avoid economic collapse. And the African continent has now reported more than 700,000 COVID-19 cases, and South Africa became the 5th most affected country in the world. On Monday, the continent's COVID-19 death toll surpassed 15,000. Half of the continent's cases have been recorded in South Africa. Egypt comes second with over 88,000 cases, followed by Nigeria with 36,000. World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, Matshidiso Moeti, has pointed out that sub-Saharan Africa is home to more than 26% of the world's refugees, and it is therefore necessary to step up aid efforts for these vulnerable populations during the COVID-19 crisis. The discovery of ancient Golan rock art has shed light on a mysterious culture in the Israeli-occupied region. The chance discovery of lines carved into the boulders of an ancient tomb in what is now the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights could offer new insight into a culture that thrived thousands of years ago. In a small clearing in the Yehudiya nature reserve, huge boulders and slabs form a small roof chamber opening to the east. The megalithic structure is one of the thousands of so-called dolmens scattered around northern Israel and the wider region, burial tombs erected some 4,000 years ago in the Intermediate Bronze Age.
When we look inside, we saw that this is not just lines that are carved, just some stains on the wall. This is a rock art, and not just rock art, the most beautiful rock art in dolmens that I saw, and only the second one known here in the Middle East. But yes, it opens lots of other questions. Why those animals? Why in these dolmens and not others? What made this one special? And those questions are good for us because they can get us to another path of thinking and bringing us closer to the heads of those who built those giant monumental buildings here in the Golan Heights.
To celebrate the 15 years since the launch of Telesur, our multimedia platform has produced the song Our Voice Rises alongside the famous Cuban duo Buena Fe. It's a song featuring multiple female voices and loaded with Latin American and Caribbean rhythms. And with a report into the making of this song, we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website and on social media. For Telesur English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching. The song plays tribute to this platform of struggle and resistance.
Sonriendo entre los feroces arquitectos de surpasses, señal que no pierde el paso, amplificando otras voces.
No one better than Buena Fe to take on the task of creating an authentic song, combining good music with intelligent lyrics. Israel Ro has managed to turn the most urgent issues facing today's world into verses.
Convencido, ni sudaca con escuela, ni parlante mal nacido, negativas verdaderas ante el falso positivo.
Perhaps because it's the most unequal continent, perhaps because there's such a tremendous colonial heritage here. especially in terms of our thought, but also a libertarian tradition that emerged. So all that converged beautifully together, and that's good, isn't it? For the song that had been supported by Latin American female voices.
The arrangement of Our Voice Rises is based on urban rhythms. The charango, percussion, and acoustic and Spanish guitars are equally protagonists. Musician Ernesto Cisneros confesses he's a loyal follower of Telesur, which is why he also decided to insert the theme music of the channel into the melody of the song.
I added elements of Andean music along with urban music, natural instruments, and electronic music as well. That is the sound of drums combined with the real sound of the bass, and also a part with a double bass. These sounds cover several areas of our America, our Hispanic America.
Manipulación mediática, maltratando las conciencias, por si el lucro no descansa, pues que nuestro amor no duerma.
In the midst of the pandemic, production was a challenge. Some declined the call from Telesur, giving in to the hegemonic and predominant cultural industry. However, these women showed courage and commitment. Our Voice Rises became a huge chorus of Latin American women.
Those who overcame all these limitations and show a special interest in participating and didn't make any kind of demand, as a matter of fact, they were women. That seems so beautiful to me, so symbolic. It made me think that Latin America is definitely a female continent. It is a continent heavy with good causes, about to give birth to all those causes so that the world will be a better place.
Everything indicates that the voice of this television network, which 15 years ago emerged from the heart of this continent, will continue to be, for many more years to come, an authentic media platform of the people and for the people, an insurgent signal of struggle and resistance.
Manipulación mediática, maltratando las conciencias, por si el lucro no descansa, pues que nuestro amor no duerma.
It's a touch of a struggle and a touch of celebration because it's Telesur's anniversary. 10.08, it is a counter-hegemonic and insurgent song, just like Telesur. Telesur is connected to the people who sing it and the people who appreciate it. The song resembles Telesur in my opinion. We'll have to see what you think.
Fabiola Lopez, Telesur, Havana.